Shalom. Today we're going to talk about what it looks like to homeschool every day. I thought I would take you through a day in the life of a homeschooler with all different kinds of scenarios. I've been homeschooling for a very long time. I have 7 children, and I remember what it's like to have all little ones with only 1 in school and everyone else is a preschooler, or 2 or 3 in school and everyone else is a preschooler. And I also know what it's like to have a high school student along with all the middle ages and preschoolers, and I know what it's like to have adults in the home or adults having to go to work and having to do my homeschooling around their crazy schedules, and then having my children grow up and not having any preschoolers, and all of the different possibilities for what a day could look like. I've also lived in a lot of different houses in a lot of different states. We've lived as homeschoolers in Florida, Missouri, Arizona, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. I don't recommend moving that many times, but I did want you to know that I know what it's like to have different requirements and different kinds of jobs that my husband was working, and sometimes I was working, and it's difficult to juggle so many different things. I know what it's like to have extended family nearby and to live a long ways away from anybody that I know, so I didn't have babysitters and so on. So I don't know what it's like in every possible situation, but I'm hoping that I can give you some tips and tricks for making your day flow smoothly, and just what it would look like to homeschool with Homeschooling Torah in your home. So let's start with some expectations that I have for my homeschool, and I think everyone should have. Here are some things that I expect. I expect that it's going to go well. I expect that we are going to love homeschooling. I expect that I love my children, that I really love my life and I don't want to have any other life. I expect that my home is supposed to be peaceful. I expect that my children are going to obey and that they're going to be able to sit through some longer lessons. Even the younger ones are going to be able to sit through some longer lessons. I'm going to expect that my children are going to have a good attitude when I ask them something. And I'm going to expect that my children are going to be like best friends. They're going to get along. They're not going to be mean and unkind to each other, but they love to be together. I'm going to expect that us as parents, that we love each other. And we really, really do love each other. We like being with each other too. I'm going to expect that my home is going to stay neat and tidy. And I'm going to expect that we have an orderly routine to our days, and we can expect what's going to happen, that meals and sleep happen at about the same time every day. And I'm going to expect that my babies are happy, they're giggly, they love life, they're not screaming all the time. And now, those are my expectations. Does that mean that it always happens like that? No way. Of course not. We all have problems in our lives and things that come up, sick babies and cranky kids, teeth coming in and potty training and all of the challenges that come with life. But even still, I can wake up in the morning and I can say, thank you, Father, for this day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for bringing my life back to me again this morning and giving me the opportunity to live another day. Thank you for letting me be a homeschool mom. What a privilege. Thank you for this house, even with all of its flaws. Thank you that we have breakfast and we have lunch and we have supper, even if it's not my favorite food. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So even though my expectations will not always be met, not in any world, I can still cultivate a thankful heart. And I think that is really the most important thing for having your homeschool day run smoothly. Now, why does it help me to have expectations? And sometimes to even write those expectations down. Not realities, but expectations. Well, because I get sad when I hear of people that expect their babies to cry all the time, that expect their children to be naughty, they expect all teenagers to be sarcastic or talk back. They expect children to be always wiggly and never, ever able to sit still for a lesson. They expect that meals are going to be just hot dogs and ketchup. They expect that it's not possible to have a neat and tidy home. And what you expect is what you usually get. And I think sometimes we need to change our expectations, and we need to stop laughing at the jokes that say that, my child is awful and your child is awful. Hey, at least we can relate to each other. We all have awful children. We can be awful together. No, let's have expectations of, no, we can have great children. So when someone posts something out on social media about how great their children are acting, encourage them, cheer them on, say, awesome, I'm so thankful that you are being a great parent. Instead of when someone posts on social media a joke about how terrible their kids are, or how tired they are, or what it's like to head to bed after a day of parenting, or how we're always so overwhelmed. Stop laughing at those things. They aren't funny. Let's expect the good to come out of our homes. Let's expect it and rise to those expectations. When something bad happens, you know, we can pray about it. We can brainstorm ways to fix it. We can comfort each other, but we shouldn't laugh at it or expect it. Let's expect the best. Let's be thankful for what the Father has given us, and let's love being moms. Now, in 1 Timothy 5:14 it says, "Therefore I desire that the younger women marry, bear children, manage the house, and give no opportunity to the adversary to speak reproachfully." So there we have the expectations for what the Father thinks we can do as moms in our homes. He says, I expect that we'll get married. I expect that we'll bear children, and this is going to be a good, awesome thing. He expects that we're going to manage our homes well. He expects that we're going to give no opportunity to the adversary to speak reproachfully of the job that we're doing. Talk about awesome expectations, and we can rise to them. So let me give you some expectations about what a home could look like on a day that you're homeschooling. And I do realize this is not always going to be like this. Perfection is not what we're always going to receive. And on those days we're going to say, oh well, start over tomorrow. Or some weeks we're going to say, oh well, have Sabbath, let's start over with a new week. But what could it look like? What is a day in the life of homeschooling? So to me, my expectation is for the mornings that I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go in the bathroom and get myself cleaned up. Sometimes I'm going to take my shower in the morning. And then I'm immediately going to go out and I'm going to open up all the blinds and all the curtains and let the sun shine in. Now, sometimes I wake up before my kids do, and in the wintertime, it's often before the sun wakes up. So I still like to open the blinds, and I like to look out at the morning as the morning is starting to wake up and it's just starting to get light outside. I think that's a most amazing time of day. But one of the reasons I open up all the blinds is I want to let that light in. I want my home to be a cheerful, happy place. I don't want to be in a dark, dingy cave all day. And I don't know, it's just something about opening it up every morning as I walk from window to window and open up all of the ones on the main floor. I'm just like, ooh, it's morning. Thank you, Father, for how beautiful it is outside. Or thank you, Father, for the rain. Or thank you, Father, for the snow. But always thankful as I open up those blinds. In fact, it's a reminder to me as I open up each one to be thankful. That's just one of the triggers that I have set up for myself, and I think that's a good thing to expect for ourselves. Then I'm going to be able to get my coffee, and then I'm going to sit on the couch with my Bible. In the summer times I get to sit out here, but depending on the year, it's more often inside on the couch, and I'm going to read through my Bible. I have a Bible reading schedule that I try to follow. If I get behind a couple days, oh well, we get caught back up. But my general expectation is that I'm going to be reading through my Bible. Every day I want to learn a new Hebrew word, and every day I want to have a prayer time. I have other videos, I'll link some below about my morning prayer time, so I won't go into that right now. And so this can take me, depending on the season, depending on if I have babies or if I don't have babies or how busy the season is, it can take me, you know, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And I try to stop it there because I have other things to do, and I'm going to be able to come back to it tomorrow. So that's my morning. Next, it's time for breakfast. And I expect that breakfast at our house is going to be something that's fairly healthy. I want to get going on some good protein, and I want to have good grains. So good grains to me are things that have been soaked or sourdough or sprouted. So it might be that I soaked some oatmeal ahead of time, and you know what? It's really easy to boil some water and quickly add that soaked oatmeal to it. It does not take long at all to cook. Put some yummy fixins on it, or maybe I have some sourdough bread. Lately, we've been on a kick around our house to have sourdough every morning, so I cut off a slice and toast it while I make a nice little omelet, a little bit of cheese and a little bit of fresh chives, and it's pretty yummy. It could be a lot of different things. I like having a bowl of blueberries or some yogurt. Some of my kids enjoy smoothies, but this is my yummy breakfast time. And I expect that my kids are going to be waking up around the time that I'm reading my Bible, that they're getting in and out of the bathroom, that they're getting dressed, and that they're making their bed. I forgot to tell you about my getting dressed and make my bedtime, and I would do that before breakfast. So I expect that all the beds in the house are made, that all the dirty clothes are put in the laundry basket, so that there's no piles of yucky stuff all over the floor, but everyone's room is nice and neat and tidy. I expect that everyone has their teeth brushed, that the older children are helping the younger children, and I'm helping the younger children too. That everything is set that way. Then we have breakfast time, and I expect, and this depends on the season of life. Sometimes I have a nursing baby, so I'm going to have a little time in there where I'm nursing the baby. So obviously this doesn't always go in this order, but I have a rhythm and routine to my morning. In fact, I find that every 3-4 months I evaluate my morning routine and I tweak it because of the season that we're in. And seasons come and go, and that's okay, but I still expect there to be some order and some peace, some sunshine coming in. Sometimes I like to turn on a little bit of quiet music. Other mornings I like it nice and quiet. Okay, so I don't want all that talking yet. Now, when we get to our school time, I expect that the kitchen has been made neat and tidy. I expect that the chores are done, and we'll come back to chores in a minute. But when we sit down at the table for school, I expect that everybody sits at the same place every time. If we're in the living room for Together School, that everyone sits in the same place every time. We just have an order and routine to how we do it. Then we don't have squabbling over who gets to sit where. It's just always about the same. I expect that my kids come to the table with their school books and their supplies, their bag or their tote, all ready to go, and that they're at the table with their Bible open. Some of my older children, I expect to see them already starting on their copy work for the day, but I only have younger children, they're ready to go when I am, and we all sit down and we start with the Bible. I've got myself usually, I'll admit it, a second cup of coffee often at this time, and this is the end of my coffee for the day. But I like to have my coffee as we read our Bible together as a family. We read our Bible together, we remember our memory verses, we have a prayer time together. We have things that we're praying about and things that we're thankful for, and we keep a journal of those. I expect that my children will participate in Bible time, and then we're off to the rest of our subjects. I'm going to cover a lot of those subjects over the course of this day, so I won't go into a ton of detail right now, but oftentimes I start with the younger children first. I will do preschool time and then phonics with the littlest ones, and then we'll get into some Together School subjects. And Together School, as I'll talk about later today, could be a lot of different things that we do together, and then we usually have history and science. We have some math time together, and we have some language arts, grammar and writing and so on with the older kids. So that's the general gist of how we do it. We usually have a PE time, or a time to get outside and get the wiggles out, and we take short, easy lessons. This is important. I hear a lot of moms say to me, I'm spending 2 hours a day on this subject, or 2 hours a day on that subject, or even an hour a day. Outside of math, and even math I'm a little questioning, I try to keep the subjects to 30 minutes, 45 minutes max on the days that I'm really on my soapbox, but I try to discipline myself to sticking to 30-minute subjects. And that is hard. Sometimes we don't get through everything that's in the book, and that is okay. Tomorrow is coming, and we can open it up and keep going where we left off. Leave yourself a note, put a little sticky tab. Like I have these kinds of sticky tabs that I put inside my books, and they use them as a bookmark. And just keep going where you were. I expect that I have a teacher binder, and in my teacher binder I have dividers. In the front of it I have my Together School planner, which we're going to talk about later today, and then I have a divider for every single subject, and I put them in the order that we do them, and I expect that I'm going to go in the same order every day. So I have Bible first, and then I might have a list of chores that we need to do, and then I have preschool lessons and my phonics things. Then I have history and science. Then I have math and language arts, I have PE, and anything extra in the back that I want to remember to do. So that's the general order of things that are in my teacher binder, and that varies from year to year. But it helps me as I go through my Together School Planner, which again we're going to talk about later. Everything is in order on that, the same order that we're going to do them as a family. I've got my pen handy, my red pen and my blue pen, and a highlighter often. I've got plenty of the little sticky notes, and I have a pad of sticky notes for me to write notes and ideas on, and I have my Bible handy, my coffee, and I have all my my extra books that I might need for history, and everything is set. I'm right there. I usually sit at the end of the table, and then my children have their assigned spots around the table. They actually sit in the same spots for both their meals and our school time. The only time we don't sit in those spots is on Friday night for Erev Shabbat meal, because we often invite company, and so we'll rearrange the seats and we put little special names sometimes on the seats so that everybody knows where they're supposed to sit for Erev Shabbat. It's our special meal. But generally speaking, the rest of the week we all have our spots at the table, and everything is neat and orderly. We definitely, besides keeping an eye on the clock and making sure the lessons don't go too long, that's like one of my most important pieces of advice to you. Don't be long-winded, Mom. Keep the lessons short and easy. In fact, if your children are all very young, 30 minutes might be too long for a lesson. You might go for 15 minutes. Some subjects like spelling don't even need 30 minutes. They need 10 or 15. Hebrew doesn't need very long. It needs short. Just learn a little bit every day. Keep the lessons short. And if they overflow into their own work that they're doing, they can do that in the afternoon on their own time, and you can be in the house and available if they have a question. The other thing is to take breaks. Some of your lessons need to stop at 25 minutes and you need to go outside for a couple minutes, or take a break, have a 45-minute slot and have your lesson only go 30 minutes, and then take a full 15 minutes to get a snack, get a drink, everyone use the bathroom, get some fresh air, do some of the brain exercises that we're going to talk about later. So school is going to go on, and depending on how large your family is and the age range that you're having, it's going to go on for 3 to 4 to 5 hours. And it really does depend. The smaller the family, the faster you can go through that, or maybe you have a little bit more flexibility to get on your soapbox more often if you're only teaching one student. But still, don't be too long on your students. I really don't think lessons should be that long. Otherwise, I expect that throughout my day, my kids are going to have some time to play or to maybe spend some time outside. I want to make sure I actually plan their activities to a point, especially the younger my children are. I don't want them to have to play with the same toys every day, and I love changing the activities throughout the day. It's like everything is a little bit more exciting if we don't get to do it as often. And I think it's good for our children to change activities. I notice my kids get grumpy when, first of all, they don't know what to do with themselves, and second of all, they've been doing it too long. So I'd love to come up with a master list of all the different activities, and I'm going to put some links in your handout for that one. Lots of ideas there. And rotate them. You can actually schedule the different kinds of activities that your kids can do, especially as you get towards the afternoon. Or little ones that are playing in the morning, you can rotate their toys so that on Monday they always play with this kind of toy, and on Tuesday they always play with this kind. Put the toys up high in a closet, and you pull the box or tote of toys out and put it in front of them and say, this is what we're playing with today. I expect to have a happy attitude, and I'm going to do it with like I expect them to like it. And they will like it. Rotate the location. Maybe sometimes they're playing on a blanket near you. Maybe sometimes they're in their room with a nice gate across the door so everything is safe. Maybe sometimes they're playing outside. Maybe sometimes they're rotating who they play with. And sometimes they're playing by themselves. It's good to learn to play by yourself sometimes. It's really an essential skill to learn to entertain yourself. But sometimes you get to play with your sister that's just 2 years older than you. And sometimes you get to play with your teenage brother. That's really fun. So especially if you have a lot of children. Rotate the people they play with, the place they play, and how long they play, and the toys they play with. And I think you'll find there's a lot more peace in your home. At least that's what I expect. I expect that everybody in our house needs a quiet time every afternoon. It's just that we've been together, and I love being with my children. In fact, I think and expect that I would be with my children. The book of Proverbs says that a child left to himself brings his mother to shame. So overall, throughout my day, I'm trying to be with my children, pretty much in the same room with my children. But sometimes we do need rest. The little ones need a nap. the babies and the preschoolers in my house, it's been up to age 5. The rule is head stays on pillow during nap time, and then a lot of days they actually do sleep. And even my elementary school children needed that quiet time in the afternoon. I need quiet time. I need that time where I can just sit down, maybe have a glass of water and read a book for a little bit, or just close my eyes. And I've kind of tried to make it so that everyone in my family has their own little spot that they can go to for quiet time. Whether it's a place to nap that's not with their siblings, or maybe it's a little nook where they have a couple books and it's just a cozy pillow and a blanket, and it's just nice to cuddle up in that spot and have a quiet time. In the summertime, you know, you might sit on the swing and just have a quiet time, or we actually have a hammock I like to go to for my summertime quiet time. It doesn't have to last very long, you know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. It's really nice to have it though. I also expect that everyone in our house helps with the chores and works around the place. The Bible says that a man who will not work should not eat, and that's the rule in our house, and I expect that everybody participates. And as a helping hand, everyone helps with the chores, everyone helps with the dishes, everybody works together because everyone eats. But I also expect that we do it with a happy heart. We like to serve one another. We like to help each other have a better life. So our chores include laundry. Laundry is a chore that never ends, right? In our house, we have it twice a week that we do all the laundry from start to finish. So on Mondays and Thursdays, everybody brings the laundry to the dirty laundry to the kitchen. That's our laundry room. That's where our washer and dryer are. And we sort the laundry into 3 tall baskets: darks, lighter colors, and whites. And we also have a spot to put towels and sheets, and we make sure that we regularly change our sheets for at least once a week, and for mom and dad it's often more often, and for children that might wet the bed or whatever, you're going to have to do that as needed. But Monday and Thursday we get all of that dirty laundry to the kitchen, and then we take turns putting it into the washing machine and changing it to the dryer, at least for the kids that are old enough to reach in there and do it a good job. And we check for stains, we check for things in the pockets, and we teach all of us how to do that, how to clean the lint out of the dryer. And in the summertime, that means changing it from the washing machine and taking it out to the clothesline, because that's just really nice to do in the summertime. So then we also take turns taking the clean laundry out of the dryer or off the clothesline and taking it to one room where, when it's all clean at the end of the day, we're going to have a big folding party. This is when we like to put on videos and watch videos together and all fold our own clothes. And I'll help the little ones, but generally speaking, we're each folding our own, and I'm ensuring that everybody's doing a good job. Everyone has their own little laundry basket. They can take their clothes back to their room and put them all away. So everything is finished, and it feels good. It's like, we did it. We got this done, even though you know very well that there's going to be more dirty clothes coming. We also have a master chore chart for all the jobs that need to be done around the house. I mean, there's a lot of things that just have to be done year in and year out, whether that's cleaning out the gutters like my kids did with my husband last week, and he got on the ladder and some of them got up on the roof with him and they all cleaned out the gutters so that they are maintained and running well. It's sweeping the porch or cleaning out the car, doing all kinds of jobs that just have to be done on a regular basis. Now, members of Homeschooling Torah, you can access all kinds of chore charts and resources on the resources tab of our website, and that's to give you a head start so you don't have to try to think of everything from scratch. You know, let's not reinvent the wheel. I can help you get going on that. We have chores that we have to do every day, 3 times a day at least, in the kitchen, right? Our family, we don't have a dishwasher. I kind of wish we did, but we don't. And we have in the past, but we don't at this season. So we have to make sure that the dishes get done 3 times a day and that the counters are wiped off. And I have to teach my kids an orderly routine to how you do that. We have to get meals prepped. So every day we have a different helper in the kitchen that's helping to make meals. And that's a really great thing. It's how I'm able to write curriculum, is because I have a meal helper. I don't know how I would get it done if I didn't. My husband is one of the meal helpers, and he sometimes will even make 2 or 3 meals a week. We have kids that are in charge of helping with the shopping, from checking the pantry and the freezers and fridge that are out in the garage to going to the store, and this child is responsible for getting everything in the dairy section, and here's a child that goes over to the toiletries section in the GM and makes sure that we have all the shampoo and whatever that we need. We have children that are in charge at lunch and breakfast of making sure that the oatmeal is soaking, that the bread is being made. They don't do all of it, but they are responsible for helping the process go along. One of the jobs I've even given my children is the job of setting the timer so that we remember to keep the job going. We have one of those cool timers on our fridge that has like 4 different timers at once, so we can have a lot of things going. Sometimes the only thing we have trouble with is to remember what's the timer going off for. We have help making menus each week, and you know, it's just so nice to have a menu. I know what's for supper tonight. My husband posts the menu inside one of the cupboard doors. That's where the cupboard that has like the vinegar and the oil and the salt and pepper and all the spices, and it's in there. And that way when we're at the kitchen counter prepping food, we can look at the menu, and he's listed out all the food that we need that needs to be included in that meal. Sometimes when I want to get a snack, I want to get some frozen blueberries, I'll look at the menu that's listed inside the cupboard door, and I'll be like, I can't have blueberries because we're going to need those for this dessert that we're making this Sabbath. So that really helps me to have that list. He also has a menu posted out on the other side. We have a pretty big kitchen. It's posted on the other side so everybody can go look at it, and you know, you're curious to what's for supper tonight. Or maybe the meal helper on Wednesdays is responsible to make sure the meat is defrosted. It's out in the freezer, so the meal helper goes to the menu on Wednesday and looks and sees what needs to be defrosted or what needs to be brought out from the pantry and put on the kitchen cupboard. So making a menu really helps. And again, Homeschooling Torah members, you have access to 50-some menus that are on the website, one for every single Torah portion, with recipes and everything, so that you can not have to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't mean you're going to like every single idea that's on the menu, but it'll trigger the ideas for you, things that your family likes, and hopefully it will save you time. That's our goal. I do recommend that you save your own personal family menus when you write them down, or whatever app you use to have a menu, or however you do it, save it so that you have it for ideas for the future. It really, really helps. I expect that children are helping out with animals, cleaning up after animals, feeding the animals, getting water for the animals, collecting eggs, all of the different jobs that need to be done. I expect that if you have a farm, your children are helping out there. If you have a yard, that the lawn is being mowed. If you have snow, that someone's shoveling the snow. Every one of us is going to celebrate Passover next spring, and I think that as a whole family we should work together to clean up the house and get all the yeast out. Everyone works together to pack the bags if we're going to take a trip for the feast. Everyone helps put things away when we come back from a feast. So we all work together, and we expect that we're going to have a good attitude about it. That when Dad says, "Hey, Alistair, come here and help me," that Alistair doesn't go, "Oh," but that he says, "Okay, Dad," and he comes and he helps right away without complaining. That's what I expect. In the evenings after supper, I expect that we have time to have fun as a family, that sometimes we play board games together, not every night, usually once a week for us. When Mom is feeling good, when I was having my concussion, I didn't feel like playing board games, but I do expect as a general rule that we all have fun together and spend time together. I expect that once in a while that Daddy and I go out for a date. And I also try to have an evening that I can take my kids out for dates. Those dates for kids might be out shoe shopping, or maybe we're going to go get an ice cream on a hot summer night. I expect that we're going to schedule times on our calendar to spend with extended family. Maybe that's on Friday evenings, or maybe you're going to invite friends that you don't normally get to see very often over to have dinner with you on a Friday evening, because Sabbath is free, right? It's free on your calendar. I sometimes like to take classes in the evenings, special classes that prepare me for something I might need to know. Sometimes my husband teaches men's classes on a Thursday evening, and so that's always a predictable thing on our schedule, that we have some classes. My young adult children will maybe take a class locally, or we have piano lessons and things like that. We have quiet nights too, where nothing is scheduled. Sometimes I'll hear my daughter playing the piano a little bit extra on those nights. She always practices every day. That's part of her homework. But sometimes in the evenings, the sun is going down. I like to light a candle, and it's kind of quiet and peaceful in the house. And here she is at the piano playing some quiet worship music. There's nothing better than that. I tell you what, I have a daughter that likes to go up to her room and play her guitar. And she doesn't really like to do it in front of anybody, but quietly she's playing that guitar, and it just sounds so peaceful. I could listen forever. We have quiet bedtime routines, things that we always do in the same order every night. And I expect that my children get in the habit of doing that. I expect that, we have stories together, or we'll read through a book together. Or as the kids get older, we might watch a movie series together or a documentary series together. I expect that, we might have a special yummy treat sometimes at night. Sometimes as my husband and I are getting older, we aren't doing that as much, but the kids, we'll give them a special treat. I expect that that evening is a time of peace and quiet, that we start to dim the lights, that our home feels cozy with special blankets that we like to snuggle with, and a cat that knows that we're going to be in the living room at that time every night, so she likes to come up and sit on my lap. I love that. Now, there are some challenges to all of these expectations for what a day looks like in a homeschooling family. Sometimes we just schedule too many things, and that is definitely a challenge. Sometimes we can't help it. Sometimes our jobs require a lot of us, or we have responsibilities with extended family, and that's life. We just expect it. When that challenge comes, we can endure it for a short season, but if the season keeps going, we need to have a long planning period where we list out all of our obligations, and we have to seriously declutter our to-do list, and we have to make sure that we get rid of the things that we cannot handle. Sometimes the expectations come from outside the home, and sometimes those expectations come from within myself, and I have too much, and then I need to be realistic with my expectations. Sometimes my husband's plans for what we do with our life are a little different than my ideals, and we're butting heads. We don't see eye to eye on this, and that's when we need to get together and have a good long talk, and I need to check my attitude and make sure that I'm submitting to his authority and willing to listen to his reasoning. And sometimes I need to carefully explain maybe some factors that he wasn't aware of and let him know what it's like. Sometimes there are interruptions from friends or family, from illnesses, all kinds of things, dentist appointments. We have a bunch of those coming up. And sometimes those interruptions can really throw us off. But I expect that we're going to roll with it, and we're going to say, you know what, that's okay. We have an entire 365 days to get 180 days of school done. And yeah, I know a lot of those are feasts and Sabbaths, but we don't have to have everything done today. Sometimes we need to say, Father, you brought this interruption into my life, and we're going to roll with it. And sometimes I expect to say, you know what, I can't do that. We're not going to allow that interruption to come in. We're going to stick to our schedule, stick to the things that God put on our hearts to do for our families, and we're going to say no to some of the interruptions. We're going to say, you know what, nope, I put my foot down. Maybe we'll do it in the future. We'll come back to that idea later. So, of all of those expectations, I have 3 things that will help you if you're just getting started as you're homeschooling. If you're just getting started as a homeschooler and you want to get started right with your day. The first one is, Mom, get up in the morning. If you have determined in your heart that you need to be up at 7 o'clock, then when your alarm goes off at 7 o'clock, you have to tell yourself, I have to get up. You need to boss yourself around. You need to be firm with yourself and not allow yourself to drift off back into dreamland. If you really can't get up morning after morning, then you probably need to go to bed a little earlier and allow yourself to sleep. Sometimes we moms expect ourselves to never get any rest, and that's not realistic, and nor is it good for us. So but generally speaking, we need to be self-disciplined about the time that we get up every morning. If you're self-disciplined about their wake-up time in the morning, you'll notice that everything else falls into place. I also notice for my kids that I have to set an alarm on my phone to wake them up. It might be I've already had my shower and I'm getting going on my morning routine, and I'm really into what I'm doing, and I need to stop for a second and go upstairs and wake them up. As they get older, they can get alarm clocks and wake themselves up, and that's perfectly legit. And now I need to enforce that they're actually getting up when they're supposed to. Also, when I'm getting started with trying to get my ideal expectations for homeschooling and get my day to flow like I want it to, I need to have lower expectations. I need to expect that it's not going to work perfectly at first. I know that sounds like it doesn't go with everything I just said, but I need to have low expectations because it's going to take us time to adapt. And so I need to expect that maybe for the first few weeks of going through the schedule, that the only thing we do is say, it's 10:30, we're supposed to have math. Of course, we're still on 2 subjects before that, but everybody, this is when math is supposed to be. Tomorrow we're going to try to get it closer. And so honestly, you might have to tweak things too. That's the third thing. Tweaking the schedule is normal. I used to get so frustrated because I'd have to make another schedule. Honestly, now I make 4 to 5 schedules a year. It generally works for me every 3 months or so. I'm making a new schedule. Sometimes it's every 2 months. That is okay. I just print out a new ideal week, and I'm going to give you a link to that in your handout so you can print one too, and I just make a new one. And it works for a while, and then the season changes and life changes. People grow up, different things come onto our schedule from outside the home, and so we make some more tweaks. So revise it as often as possible. I give you permission to revise your schedule as often as you need to. I know it's not that you're a failure, it's that life changes. Life never stops changing. So expect it, expect that there will be changes, and then you won't be so flustered by it. It's just normal. You're very, very normal when you do that. So I hope that gives you an idea of what a day is like in the life of a homeschooler. Just because that I gave you kind of an overview, sometimes I have like 3 days a week that are like that and 2 days a week that are maybe a little different. For instance, the day that we run errands and go grocery shopping, and I try really hard to schedule all the errands and grocery shopping on that one day, as much as I possibly can. But overall, that day has a different flow than some of the other the days that we're at home. In Homeschooling Torah's lessons, there are 2 days every week that are a little bit lighter than the 3 heavier days. And so you can put one of those lighter days on your errand and shopping day. And then there's also Sabbath prep, which you don't have to go crazy on Sabbath prep. My expectation is, that we're going to have some company over that night. We're going to clean our house up for them, but you don't have to do all of that. But I do think that you should have a little bit lighter schedule for that. So 2 lighter days, 3 heavier days, and then maybe a different schedule on the weekends. So that's what homeschooling looks like. So that's what homeschooling looks like in my house. I'd like to hear how it sounds for you. What's different? What's the same from what I said?